Businesses are primarily in India known by their owners.
When you start a business, you don't realize how much you're putting the entire family at risk.
Beauty is so close to your health and your well-being. It's almost a quasi-medicine you're applying on the skin.
Our customers visit us 50 times a year when they buy only 4 times a year.
You try to make women look beautiful for themselves. It's like an expression, not like an affirmation from outside.
Let the spotlight of your life be on you.
Organizations incentivize vertical collaboration. Often they miss out on horizontal collaborations.
So we may disagree while we're still making up our mind, but once we've made up our mind, then it is a unified strategy.
You know, India desperately needs that shift in mindset where women would be leading from the front. Welcome to Duologue, Falguni.
It's my pleasure to be here.
I've often heard people saying that your story is an inspiration to millions of women, but I must confess that it's an inspiration for lesser mortals like me too.
Thank you.
You've embraced trust, technology, and the bravery to chase any dream. Age and background no bar.
Thank you, Barun. Thank you for those kind words.
A business like Nykaa, or a concept like Nykaa, how was it born in your mind? You know, what we understand that very mundane way of setting up a new business is either one leverages their competence and knowledge, or one tries to leverage the opportunity which the market has, or passion. So which one or the combination of ones are applicable for you?
I think the concept started with me wanting to be an entrepreneur and start a business that would have a long-term journey of its own. And I was thinking through the ideas. I think because the technology was a new input those days, like when I started out in 2012, I was very aware that you could use technology to solve consumer problems, so to speak. And when I looked at India and India's beauty market, it was so underdeveloped compared to the rest of the world. And when I started evaluating what the reasons could be, I realized that because it was a nascent industry with very low per capita demand, the retailers were not servicing it well enough. And that's where came the idea that I will bring specialty beauty retail through e-commerce, so digital commerce, and I'll be able to service the whole country, with providing them for consumption of beauty. I also realized that beauty consumption needs a lot of education and awareness and inspiration. And I thought that I could leverage again technology, social media, to reach again consumers at scale and have a conversation with them at scale as well as educate them at scale. So combination of all this was put together in a business model called Nykaa.
Right. So you talked about beauty products. You straight away put your finger on that category, or you had evaluated and eliminated a few and then zeroed down on beauty products. That's before that, I would also like to know that why exactly such a successful executive like you would eventually turn an entrepreneur. Because why I ask it? Because I tried that and I failed miserably. So I thought that I'm cut out to be a professional only. But why did you want to be an entrepreneur?
I think I had enjoyed my professional journey as a finance professional. And it wasn't that I was looking for change. In fact, there was a lot I was giving up to start the entrepreneurial journey. But in my journey as a IPO banker, so to speak, I took a lot of companies to the IPO markets. And as I met entrepreneurs and I saw their belief in long-term vision, and I also saw a lot of investors almost being naysayers. And I was of the view that if I'm a professional turned entrepreneur, I need to identify a very early stage opportunity, so-called sunrise industry.
That's right.
I used to joke about it those days that for a professional turned entrepreneur to start a business, I need to be in a very startup. I mean, I need to really build in a sunrise industry and become bigger before, I used to say Tata, Birla and Ambani's get interested, and that's exactly what happened. So I think early days of industry allows you freedom to build a solution in a very capital efficient manner.
Businesses are primarily in India known by their owners, There are very few businesses which are actually the brand is larger than the owners. And you had been at the topmost position in a very respected, reputed bank. Did you see a difference from where you started being an owner from being an executive? Did the outlook of the world towards you changed?
No, 2-3 things. So I think at Kotak, we prided ourselves in what we called as professional entrepreneur kind of a thing, which meant that like an entrepreneur, you had a lot of independence and to take the decisions and move forward.
Right, but Kotak would have still been known as Mr. Uday Kotak's company.
Yeah, obviously the vision was his. But within that, the professional entrepreneurship meant that a lot of professionals felt the ownership of an entrepreneur, and they would take independent decisions like an entrepreneur and be responsible to grow their business. So I think I'm just trying to distinguish between one is entrepreneurship, but I think what was different when I started Nykaa and as an entrepreneur is that you actually, I believe in power of compounding, and as an entrepreneur, whichever area of business you believe in, you keep at it for many years, and through that power of compounding, you kind of you start seeing a lot of opportunities. Like I think when I was a professional, I used to think, how will I get ideas? Like how do I find an idea that will be great? And now from where I sit, I'm always finding those white spaces, so to speak, or areas which I think I can bring to the Indian consumer and.
Does the outside world in your circle? Do you get viewed differently in the professional circle that now you're not an executive but an entrepreneur? Is there a difference in the kind of respect that the world gives you as an entrepreneur compared to as an executive?
I haven't looked at all that, but if you ask me what is it, one differential skill of an entrepreneur is that they're risk takers and they do take open-ended risk, and it's not possible very often when you embark on an entrepreneurial journey, especially early stage entrepreneurship, it's not possible to so-called dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and you do take a lot of open-ended risks based on a belief, and obviously you're always surrounded by a lot of naysayers and you still move ahead with your belief. So I think in many ways you can call it a vision or you can call it a passion and a belief in yourself that you don't allow others to destabilize you and you keep pursuing your path.
Right. And there are many success secrets for Nykaa. You spoke about it. We got to know about it from other reporting. I think one of the first things is that it was very obvious that beauty is so close to your health and your well-being. It's almost a quasi-medicine you're applying on the skin. The trust is a big element, and most of the e-com platforms, we were not sure that we would get the authentic product. Sometimes, you would have the expiry date wiped out. So that is definitely one of the things that you focused on, and which had happened primarily because you have gone into warehousing yourself. So to my mind, that was a huge risk. I'm not very sure about the equation, but the trade-off is that while you add efficiency having your own warehouses, but you add to huge amount of holding cost, the capital that you hold that is deployed to hold the stock, and then the stock might expire at some point in time. So how does this equation work in terms of efficiency and the holding cost?
So I always felt that we need to do a lot of heavy lifting on behalf of our consumers, so that we are a very consumer-centric business and we always solved it from the lens of the consumer. And I think one of the biggest problem in beauty was that because products expire around 3 years, or their expiry date is about 3 years, and if the retail chain has not managed the expiry very well, consumer gets like old products and stuff like that. And a typical symbol of trust is usually a banyan tree. And I used to, in my early days, wonder that how will a young company look like a banyan tree? You know, banyan trees are hundreds of years old. So I think, but you know, we got consumer trust very quickly, because I think Nykaa believed in authenticity, and authenticity brought us trust, and you know, being and saying who we are. And there were a lot of early conversations where we would say that if you're saying up to 30% off, at least 30% of the product should be 30% off. Can't say 60% off and then have only one product at 60% off. So we got a lot of consumer trust through what we call as Nykaa value system, which was very authentic and being true about the conversation we have with our consumers. From the early days, our supply chain software has like first expiry, first out. So we of course have, we know the location of that particular SKU in the bin, and we have paperless picking. So it is picked from the right bin, and it is matched with what we are asking them to pick versus what they're picking. So all of this automation in the warehouse
supply
put us
chain
very differently than others.
Yeah. Also, another thing possibly would have played a huge role in it. That's what I feel. I come from that industry. Content. You know, you heavily looked at content. I always used to say for last 10, 12 years, I've been saying content in the context leads to commerce. I see that you've done that very efficiently, your focus on content. How did that come in? Is it your brainchild or somebody
Yeah,
put
so
the
from very early days, I believed in it. So if you look at my first 4 employees, I started in April of 2012. The company was incorporated on by 26th April 2012. And on May 1st, of the 3 employees who joined me, one of them was Chief Content Officer. So
that
my focus
amazing.
on content was from early days. So it's not something we arrived at. And our first website, we had a banner, and the second banner was a content banner, which said, learn more about, you know,
so
this
how did
particular
that
shampoo.
Come to you?
I mean, like which shampoo will suit you, just based on first principle observations. Like I wasn't from the industry, and I saw that when you go to any beauty store abroad, the customer is talking to the beauty advisor. They're called beauty advisors.
Yes, I've
and they're
seen
talking
that.
to the beauty advisors and asking that. And I was a consumer like that. I'll go and say, oh, I have an under eye problem. What do you recommend? And then they'll say, okay, I recommend this. You know, so based on that, I'd observed that content is very important to solve the beauty consumer needs, because there's so much of products and so many varieties. Like if I have curly hair, I need a different shampoo than if I have a straight hair, or if I have a fine hair, or if I have a thick hair. Everything has a different product, and that's why industry has different products for different needs. But then the beauty advisor is the one who is solving it in a physical space. But we are giving advice centrally, so that high quality advice now is reaching so many people. So we use social media for that, and then we bring them onto the website. And on website, we have a lot of content which is always educating the customer. So even today, our customers visit us 50 times a year when they buy only 4 times a year. So from the beginning, we were comfortable with that.
You know what I believe that, which is what I see, that the beauty advisors, through your content, you made the content also engaging and engrossing, which is why they keep coming back, your consumers, for the content. So content in its own is a pull. People like to watch the content, which is what I always say, that if you give a piece of advice, there are very few takers in today's time with this several distractions. But if you tell an engaging story, engrossing content, nice way of putting together your beauty advisors and tips, that works well.
Yeah, but you have to keep your central purpose in the middle
case,
of this, is right, which for us is educating on beauty. So I can make a very engaging content which has nothing to do with beauty, and I start measuring that, oh my God, people are coming and playing.
Of course, it has to be, as I said, it has to be in the context.
In the context of commerce.
And then it leads to commerce.
So we stayed with that. So we don't get distracted by...
That is one of the greatest differentiator, which I feel when I look at your business from outside, I feel that. Now, being in the beauty product, did it ever occur to you that you're possibly perpetuating the same stereotype? You know, we grew up with the stereotype that women wield their power from their looks and beauty, while men from their achievements and strength.
No, not at all. So firstly, we have a very inclusive view of beauty, and an inclusive view of beauty is beauty for each and every one, woman as well as men. And a lot of men also like embrace beauty nowadays in that sense. And I used to joke about it in early days that once, when a team of mine went to Huda Beauty to win the business, 3 men from our office went. I mean, a lot of men work at other beauty companies like Estée Lauder and L'Oreal also. And like these 3 men are swatching the lipstick. And to me, just women in technology is one empowerment moment, but men swatching the lipstick is also another empowerment moment. So I think the point is that we are into beauty and lifestyle. Part of beauty, which is mainly makeup, which was very women-centric, but and a lot of women
That's
embrace
the primary
beauty.
business, right, as of now?
No. Now we are much beyond makeup. Skin is a very important part of our business, hair, all the category, fragrances. So a lot of our business is unisex in that sense.
But what would be your breakup of consumers
No,
as
we
of
don't
now?
we don't ask a consumer their, we don't ask their gender when they buy
In
from
general,
us.
from your stores,
from this-
primarily it'll be women, right? Still?
No, I wouldn't say that. Like, I think we do believe that up to 25 to 30% of our consumption may be men
25 to
related.
30%.
Yeah, but there are a lot of what you call as unisex products. So it's difficult to say exactly. Like, those are family products, especially most of the shampoos or hair care products. And many of those tend to be unisex, and a lot of skincare products also. So it's very difficult to really say that what is like.
No, I would say that I'm all for looking a little better. I
Yeah,
don't
of
think
course.
that.
I think men. So coming back to, I personally feel that women value grooming, and men have been a little bit behind the curve in valuing grooming, but it's changing in a massive scale.
So
and
they
I
are
do
behind
believe that they are behind the curve, but they're
because
seeing.
they must have given up on the race.
No, not really. I think they're seeing.
Compared to women, they must have given up on the race that they can't look as pretty.
No,
so let's not
I don't
try and
think
look
so.
pretty.
I think seeing women embrace beauty so nicely and so holistically, and women, like over the last 10 years, I mean, your consumption of beauty product does improve your skin and does improve many things. And I think just watching that, men also want to embrace beauty
I am
more.
fully for it. Absolutely, I'm in for it. But I have also read somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, you talked about when you brought in this beauty product, Nykaa, you tried to make women look beautiful for themselves. It's like an expression, not like an affirmation from outside.
Absolutely. So the message to women was that let the spotlight of your life be on you.
That's right.
And let the spotlight of your life be on you. You should be the main Nykaa or the main actor in your life, and your life should be about you. And for that, we wanted her to be as confident as she wants. So beauty is, beauty inside, outside, everywhere. But the point is the confidence to be, to dream for themselves. So I think the two are not related. We are not saying that makeup will make you confident and make you dream. It's a message to women that for too long, women have not dreamt for themselves. They've been too afraid to upset the balance at their homes because they've given up their dreams for sake of family. They want to keep the family together. They want to do everything for their family. And I think our message meant a lot to millennial, our early customers were millennials. And it meant a lot to millennial women who had seen that elder women in their families had given up their dreams for sake of the family, and they didn't want to do that, and they didn't want to be. They wanted to be unapologetic about their choice that they were making, that they were prioritizing their careers and their work and their dreams.
I am fully in agreement with that. We would come back to that topic that I keep saying that very close to my heart. I would like to spend some more time on the current business and how you're taking it forward. You talked about making men conscious about looking better. You also have started Nykaa Man. I just want to say that whether there'll be a conflict saying that Nykaa came from Nykaa, which is a heroine, which is like the feminine version of it. So Nykaa Man, would there be a positioning conflict?
Nykaa is a name we embrace, and the name has certain message, and that's what I explained. That you should be the primary actor in your life. That's the meaning of the name Nykaa. Now, our early apps, which are very popular and 90% of our sales happen on our apps, had a lot of makeup, because of which they felt very cluttered to the men. And we also decided to be lifestyle business, so we started a Nykaa fashion app, because we are believers in vertical commerce. So we have a separate app for fashion, separate app for beauty. So we started Nykaa Fashion, and on fashion, obviously, we have women and men's fashion and kids and home, all four, right? So we already had a fashion app. Then we realized that women like to shop in vertical platforms separately, because they are they see themselves as experts and they want to go to a beauty only store and a fashion only store, whereas men like the convenience of doing everything together and faster. So we came up with Nykaa Man, which is a combined app which has all men's grooming and men's fashion, and also it is little less overwhelming, so to speak, because men do not like to figure out. Their biggest fear is that they should not buy a wrong product. So
That's the biggest fear, men.
Yeah, so either we had to put products as men, women, and unisex, but within unisex also they prefer that this is more suitable to men. So the Nykaa Man catalog is a combination of what is on beauty and on fashion, but it has again curated it for men.
When you have a business like this, I mean, in a way, it was a disruptor in the category. It created a category. It exponentially grew, and astonishing numbers. 2017, I think you were around $30 million turnover, and this year possibly the run rate is close to $1 billion. Now, also, it's a small market. Per capita consumption of beauty product in India is still low.
15, 16.
15, 16, expected to be about maybe 25, 30 in next 5 years. And then you have overall the size is about $14, $15 billion. In next 5 years, expected to be about 50. So you have a growing market, there's a lot of headroom. And then e-com transaction possibly would be hovering around 8 to 10% of the total consumption.
It's grown to now 15, 16% again, trending 15, to 16%. 20, yeah.
So obviously it's a very lucrative business to be in, which you had showcased it to the world. So one of the challenges maybe for companies like you, where we also come from, as most of our channels are in a leadership position, and I see that market share possibly would only go in one direction, which is southward. So does it keep you stay up at night?
Not really. I don't think it's going to go southward. It need not be. Like I always say that a leader doesn't start with wanting to lose market share. So we will do everything to hold on to our market share and grow it.
So fundamentally,
what I want to say is that honestly, at the moment, the assets that Nykaa has are kind of unmatched by other competition. So Nykaa is sitting on 35 million consumers who have so far bought on Nykaa and who are kind of beauty enthusiasts. And obviously, it's a smaller set than even, fashion, which probably, you can say there must be about 80 million consumers who are fashion enthusiasts, and then 120, 30, 50 million total e-commerce buyers. So I think we have a lot of potential for growth, not just for us, but also for competition. And also we are sitting on, we have a network of more than 250 stores, which span across 100 cities. Most of the other physical retail network, we have an omnichannel business. And most of the other physical networks are not even at 20 stores or 25, 30. And also at about 250 stores, our physical retailer is only 10% of our turnover, which means that we have a large number of brands on our platform. And India has become very important for global companies in this post-China debacle, so to speak.
As a market?
As a market for beauty brands. So over last 18 to 20 months, a lot of international brands want to come into India and cater to in the Indian market. And there is an acceleration in that. So I think the per capita consumption of beauty being as low as $16 is not just beauty, but personal care also. So it's like a country doesn't seem to be consuming anything, right?
That's right.
So I think that's about to change. And there is a lot of awareness, and the per capita consumption is going up a lot. And if you look at markets like US and all, it's $300. And also it's really even markets like Vietnam, it's $45, $50. So I think we were very underrepresented. If you plot a chart, they say the beauty consumption is in S curve. S-curve chart, and at low levels of per capita income, the consumption is low, but it like has a hockey stick growth. And even with the low consumption and being at the bottom end of the S-curve, India was below the per capita income equivalent consumption also.
Yes.
So there is a lot of it's just going to grow by leaps and bounds, and hence more players will come in. But that doesn't mean we can't keep up with our share of the market.
Where I was coming from with the fundamental equation that as a pioneer of any business, you start off with 100% market share.
No, we never had 100%.
No, I'm saying fundamentally, as a pioneer, you obviously had other
no,
e-com
but
players.
I just want to remind you that we entered in 2012. Flipkart, Myntra, and I mean, they were already there in 2012 with beauty business. Amazon had entered in 2013. So none of this competition is new. And we have gained and established ourselves along with those players being there. And I truly respect Amazon as an e-commerce company. And I think we could grow in spite of Amazon being in the business, so to speak, in India. So I think, in our opinion, the current new competition that is coming in is like really more Indian conglomerates trying to also do beauty. But we are not new to competition. I think competition has always been in India. It's just that our model succeeded compared to other models.
Like typical,
so someone has to create all of the assets we have, including content and including all of that.
I think the robust entry barrier that you've created over your last 12 years, 13 years of, and not only one, you've created an ecosystem, you created a model, you built your relationship with consumers, you held them back, repeat consumers keep coming back, you built a relationship, fairly robustly placed, understand that. Now, typically in your life, day-to-day life in the corporate world, what is it that, how do you divide your time between what's going to happen now, next financial year, this financial year, next quarter, and looking at what's going to happen 5 years down the line? I'm
someone who believes that one must always look at balance between near-term profitability and investing for the future. And I think we had put in place a lot of growth engines like fashion. So we realized that lifestyle is kind of a related business to beauty. And in India, fashion is 5 times the size of the beauty market. So we actually started building a fashion business around 2018. And it was also based on a very careful assessment that a lot of early stage fashion companies in e-commerce had shut businesses. And finally, the industry had only literally 2 or 3 players, which was Myntra and Ajio. If you look at even Amazon, they've not made a dent on fashion, neither in India or abroad. So we saw a clear opportunity to build a fashion business, and that's when we started that. So we are now about 5-6 years into the fashion business, and we do believe that there could be similar upside, though in India in more recent time, everyone's doubting whether fashion business will be good business, but I think it is bound to be. It's a very large market and part of everyone's consumption basket. So that's the other one which we are investing for the future. Then we also moved into, creating another disruptor business which we call as eB2B. So the entire GT distribution through wholesalers and distributors in the country, we had noticed that was done very inefficiently without, again, same supply chain and all of the advantages of data that can be drawn into it. So we built a new business which is we call it the Superstore. And that's also is another future investment we made. So that's another business we built.
Something like Metro Cash and Carry, where you have to have a business.
Yeah. And then we also are now, we've gone into the GCC market. We found that market very exciting. It's a high growth market. World is diverse. I mean, more and more of the global businesses are going to be in the Middle East. We saw it as a long-term growth initiative. And also, it's a high per capita consumption market, and there were not too many players, so that's another investment we made. So we're always thinking about balancing between near-term growth needs and longer-term investments.
I think I've heard you saying somewhere that the nuances of personal care and beauty products and fashion, while it is 5 times, I think it is now about $50 billion going up to $160 billion in next 5 years. So the nuances of these two businesses are slightly different?
Yeah, I mean, in the sense that one is more of a brand business, other is a style and trend business. And, there are differences in the business, but consumer is the same. And, the consumer...
But there you won't go the warehousing model, possibly.
Yeah, we are doing it more, it's through a like a seller platform and marketplace model, the fashion one, because I think in fashion taking inventory risk is a bit too much. So we do have some inventory, but a lot of it is through our partnership with the brands.
So
And
much
we're
of
also building a lot of brands for the future.
so much of large appetite, desire to grow still there in you. Great to see. But I'm sure that the people around you are also contributing to that. Finally, both your son and your daughter are part of your business. I would tend to think that you would have a lot of young employees in your organization. We run an organization which is almost of similar size, 3,000 people, but we would have more mature and experienced manpower who are journalists. But I've seen of late that it's a great difficulty, even in the boardroom, to hold on to the attention of people when you're deliberating something, when you're discussing something. Do you feel that is that an attention span problem that you see?
No, I don't think we've seen that. I think Nykaa's success comes from having a lot of young employees, and when we started, we had a lot of young employees who were like just 23 years old. Now they've also aged with the company and they are maybe around mid-30s or under mid-30s. I think at Nykaa, we do believe that we've always empowered our young leaders, and we have a lot of young leaders who speak with confidence in larger groups. So I think with my own experience, I didn't even know, like I'm not an engineer, and I figured out a tech kind of consumer tech execution. So we do believe that all types of skill sets are respected in the company. And for an organization to really function well, and retail is one of those kind of business, we have great expertise in marketing, we have great expertise in physical retail, we have great expertise in technology, data, and brand management and innovation. Like we are building so many brands. Actually, within Nykaa sits a mini, like a consumer company, because now we own so many brands of size and scale, both in beauty and few in fashion, but much larger number in beauty, including our acquisition of Dot & Key we did. So that has a lot of innovation focus. I mean, the examples I give is that it's a coordinated dance, and we talk about how it's like an orchestra where each one has to play the music to perfection. They're part of the music and everything comes together. So the way of functioning at Nykaa is very different.
What I get to hear from you, that it's a very complex business. You have set up many verticals. People are working in tandem. New verticals are being created every now and then. One of the problems that I face, I wanted to bounce it off with you. And I would borrow what we learned from, I was just traveling with my friend Papa CJ, who's a comedian and a leadership coach. And he put it very nicely that organizations incentivize vertical collaboration. Now, when you give them incentive, you give them promotions, there's a hierarchy. Often they miss out on horizontal collaborations. I face it day in and day out. I mean, with so many verticals, so many heads in your setup, is there anything specific that you have done to ensure this horizontal collaboration?
Yeah, so at our size, which is not that massive, I think we are quite like a conglomerate. So what we do is, and we have a lot of common functions and resources. So the tech, the marketing, operations, finance and HR also tend to be common.
And new business units are coming up every time.
And there are a lot of business units. So I think we can never function if everyone's not clear about what the plan is. So we spend a lot of time on annual operating plans, and our plans are very, very detailed. We are a very data-driven and a detail-oriented planning company. For next 3 months, we'll know all of the dates of what is going to happen when. Like we do all those annual sales, like quarterly sales. Those dates are known. Everybody knows. So then everybody just comes together.
So it's well planned.
It's all very well
across
planned.
And well articulated, that nobody has any scope of ambiguity. Yeah. That what next and what is the other person going to do.
So we kind of incentivize based on achieving vis-a-vis their targets rather than common business objectives, because a lot of support functions are supporting multiple businesses.
So there are interdependence with respect to rewards and recognitions also. So it's not only if you're doing well, you set up a system that where the entire system gets lifted up. Mostly from outside, what we see that Advaita is mostly next to you. Anchit possibly has started coming and facing the world of late. Was it a conscious decision?
In the sense that when I started the business, I wanted to start the business, and it was started in a year that both my children graduated from their undergrad, so they just graduated in 2012, and Adwaita chose to come back to India and work with Nykaa on her own, like after about 9 months. So she decided that she was very keen to be at Nykaa, and she came back. So she has a longer history at Nykaa, and she's been a co-founder. We built the company together from early stage, but she did go back in the middle for 2 years to do her business school. She had always had admission at Harvard Business School, and while she was really enjoying Nykaa, I was of the view that she should go to Harvard, and she really values that education. And then she came back. Anchit was a later entrant to the business because he was in an investment bank, and he was not looking to move back at a particular point in time. And I think he was at Morgan Stanley, and they made a mistake. They gave him 1 month of paid leave to just go home, and he came home, and we didn't know what else to do with him, but I asked him to shadow me. So he shadowed me for a whole month, and at the end of the month he said, I'm going to go back and quit and come and join you. I didn't believe him because I thought he'll never, he's just saying it because he was going back in time for that.
Which year was it?
This was, I think, 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
You just started climbing up then.
Yeah. So he actually, he came, or maybe it was 2017, though I'm not exactly sure about which year it was, but one of the 2 years. And he actually did leave when he said he will. He said, I'm just going back to put in my papers, and I'll kind of come back soon. And so he's come then. My only rule was that they both should first do physical retail business, because that's where you meet the consumer face to face and you learn a lot. So he did that for a while, and then he came on to run the beauty business. Today the reality is that 3 of us, and then we have some other business leaders also who run particular business verticals. So we all run different business verticals. I tend to run more new verticals because I'm better at setting in place an early stage business into a settlement stage. So Anchit runs beauty for a long time. Adwaita was running fashion. Now somebody else we have who's running fashion business, and she's managing all our beauty private label business. So all the beauty brands.
So you possibly are best placed to answer this question. This is like an exploratory question. You're one of the 2 self-made women billionaires, and you're the first generation. What's your view? Like you said, that both Anchit and Adwaita is there, and there are other business leaders. Will it continue to be a family-run business, or professionals can also have a go in leading this business going forward?
No, I think I didn't look at it in such complex ways. It was more like I wanted to start a company, and I started the business. So at that stage, it was not like a family-run business. But then
I'm saying going forward.
Yeah,
obviously.
I'm just saying. So they chose to come and join the business, and I was really happy because, I started the business quite late. So I would have had to think about, if my children didn't want to join the business, I would have to think about what's my eventual plan in terms of building. At some point I would need to hand over. So, but having said that, Anchit and Adwaita have come into the business, which gives a long-term view to the family that we want this business to be run, in the long run. But we don't differentiate so much between, we are just some of the kind of managers who run certain businesses, and we treat all our team as equal. Of course, we sit on the board, and to the extent that we sit on the board and we have an ownership. So we have an ownership and a board role, and then there is an executive role. As an executive, we are equal to other executives, but on the board role, obviously, we have a role to play because our economic interest is large, and we obviously have to keep in mind, and that gives it a longer term orientation to how this company functions. So we differentiate the 2 roles. But our board role also, I always tell Anchit and Adwaita that 3 of us have to be very, very aligned on what we want for this business, because obviously, every decision you take, all of us need to be on the same page. So I was very inspired by, in KKR, where my husband worked for many years, Henry Kravis and George Roberts behaved like true co-founders, and they were always on the same page. So we may disagree while we're still making up our mind, but once we've made up our mind, then it is a unified strategy.
You mentioned about Sanjay, who is a friend of mine. He definitely needs a special mention as far as I'm concerned. I was talking to Mr. Narayan Murthy and Sudha Murthy, and during my conversation, I very humbly said they are like legends in their own right. That I would live for the day where I'll see that a Kulkarni is setting up Infosys and a Murthy is helping her handling the family. And in your case, I see that's happened maybe 30, 35 years down the line after Infosys was born. You came and became an entrepreneur, and Sanjay possibly had remained a very solid support for you.
I think, we don't look at it like that. I think we are a little bit more, even though what age we are a little bit more like the millennials. So millennials have their own careers and their own personal ambition, and they are walking together, but they're all also pursuing their own ambition. So we feel that way. So there were times when, for example, when Sanjay had his ambition and he was making choices for himself, and I was doing whatever I was doing, and then there was a time when I wanted to make my own choices, and and of course, as a family, we have all our best interests at heart, so we always talk about in most of the family decisions. I've always said that when you start a business, you don't realize how much you're putting the entire family at risk, because tomorrow, you don't start with wanting to do badly, but tomorrow some unforeseen event happens, and then the business is at risk, and then the whole family gets pulled into it, right? So I think in many ways, with a business ownership, it's a family joint responsibility in that sense. So, but yeah, I think in terms of, we are like professionals walking our paths together with, pursuing all, because he also is now building a lot of new businesses, in his post-KKR environment. Where he has a fund called Sorin, and he has a number of funds that he started, Clean Tech Fund, and he's doing a lot. And so am I doing. So I think he doesn't have an operational role in Nykaa, but he's of course on the board.
Right. That brings me to that topic, which I postponed for some time in the beginning of the discussion. As you said, that women are conditioned by the society to make all the sacrifices. And I do see that the liberty or the prerogative to sacrifice is often left to the women. That is something that needs to change in the society. While you continue to say that you don't like to see that the women have a glass ceiling in terms of their growth, but definitely they face these so-called handicaps in their growth career.
They don't have to. What I'm trying to say is that I think it all depends. I think I definitely really respect the millennials and the younger couples, where from the very beginning they're very supportive of each other's career, and they make it work. So I think it's even for me and Sanjay, because we met at business school, and he always knew and he always wanted me to work, and he always knew that work meant so much to me. And when I now say that he never stopped me from leaving a crying kid to go to my work, because I made my work priorities the way I wanted to do the way I wanted to prioritize work, and he allowed me that freedom. But in today's world, people will say, "What do you mean allowed me the freedom?" Of course, you have the freedom. So that's what I'm saying. So I think the point is that it's about it's a conversation, and it's an approach to life that even both their careers matter, and they will make it work. And that's how a lot of young families are treating their careers. And I think maybe you can say me and Sanjay were a little bit of a pioneers in our generation in that way of living.
Definitely we would like to see you as a pioneer, because I still feel, and I agree with you, which you said, that a lot of responsibilities unduly rest on women. The fact that they can give birth to babies, so we very conveniently put the responsibility of raising babies primarily on the women, and then holding the families together, which you said, it always rests on the women. So there are 2-3 careers that you pursue as a woman. Now, you are definitely a pioneer, and I would be glad to see that going forward in next 5 to 10 years, India has maybe 50 billionaires who are women entrepreneurs, and maybe another 5,000 who are in the making. India desperately needs that shift in mindset where women would be leading from the front. I somehow feel that they're better at management, because management is all about managing people, and which somebody who is emotionally stronger would always do better. Thank you very much for being on Duologue. It was a wonderful experience, and I have a small ritual to perform. To all Duologue guests, I give this small present.
Oh, thank you.
Duologue pen.
Lovely.
So all my guests have penned down some message for me and this show. So I'd be glad if you could write down something for me. This is for me. The whole Duologue was for the audience. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Barun. I also have something for you. A gift hamper from Nykaa Wali Shadi.
Right,
So,
thank you very much.
like we talked about,
Maybe
grooming for the whole family.
Yeah, maybe I'm too late for it and my son is too early for it.
Not to worry, it's just on the occasion of Nykaa Wali Shadi, it's
Thank you.
products for the whole family.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.